All right, I'm Pat.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
Um, what were we talking about with stamp your hands? Your dog. Oh, your dog was
Yeah, she checked you for like drugs and weapons when you came
drugs and
in.
weapons. Yeah, no, I do reek of sausage though. So
Why do you reek of
I
sausage?
made a kielbasa tonight. I hadn't made one to, so
You just eat it on its own.
no, I make it with potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea better if you're just sitting around and
just
like
chewing on it.
just
Just end of it. It's a giant Slim Jim.
you're coming up just like, what are you doing? It's like it's dinner.
It's dinner.
I'm gonna eat this, and you unwrap that horseshoe and
Just dip it in ranch.
that's as bachelor food as I can possibly.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
And it's cold. Or you microwave it so it's all fucking like bursted and
Well, it's like nuclear hot on the
yeah,
outside. You know?
and fucking ice cold on the
Right. Yeah.
inside. But there you are, just holding it with your hands. You got like two things, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna hit it with the honey mustard this time, and then
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
You got ranch dip ketchup or something.
ranch dip, ketchup, the whatever it is. What else would a fucking bar give you? That marinara.
Yeah, maybe marinara. Yeah, or you'd probably have like some cheese dip.
I don't even think cheese would be good with that. I know that sounds like it would be, but I feel like kielbasa would completely just out flavor that. It would.
Yeah, so I do a little cheese on mine with the potatoes and stuff. So you just basically cook it like a hash.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I put a little cheese on that. It kind of softens it up a little bit, but if you put too much on it, there's so much grease in the kielbasa that it's just like it's just like floating in grease. That's
Well,
how you're done with it.
Yeah. It sounds like you kind of you commit to destroying the kielbasa in the process, right?
I dice it.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I used to cut it into like medallions and stuff, but it was just
We're
like
not on Iron Chef, dude. It's
I'm
not.
not an Iron Chef, and quite honestly, I like them just chunkified anyway.
Fine.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just basically turn it into a hash with some potatoes, and it comes out great. So
No, there's some people that basically they're gonna say like, all right, so if you have a sausage that, and I don't really, if it has a skin, you're not supposed to basically break the skin. You're supposed to cook it whole and then.
that's if you want to boil it or something.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. You could put it on the grill
Oh, that's
in,
true.
in a pan and just basically heat up both sides and then cut it up. I don't know, man. It's
It that I'm not that much of a purist. I don't eat them that often. It's just like I always have like one or two in the house, and then if it's like a day where I forget to take something else out of the fridge, that's something that's guaranteed to defrost in like an hour and a half. So, if
Yeah.
you just put it in your sink, it's fine. So,
yeah. If you defrost it, I
Yeah.
mean, it'll sit in your fridge for like a month without.
oh no, my house, all meat goes in the freezer. All meat goes in the freezer, yeah. Because I don't know, like some days it's like I have things planned out for the week, and then other days it's just like I don't know what I want.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I can't judge you for that in any capacity. I know that. So I went to the grocery store this morning,
How much do you
and
spend on steak?
I am buying steak.
Oh, okay.
Shit,
I'm just curious.
that's expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what? And what's funny is, not only is it expensive, I didn't eat it last time.
Oh, really?
I just wasn't in the mood.
Oh, okay.
So
It happens.
yeah, but if so, the trick is I never freeze steak. Right.
Oh, I do all the time.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I never freeze steak. I do notice like a flavor and texture difference afterwards, but
No, you're not wrong.
I mean it's not a big deal unless you make it a big deal, all right?
Right,
And so, but the thing is, if I don't eat it, it's done in a couple of days.
Yeah.
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 So that if I don't eat it last time, I don't buy another one this time. You
Yeah,
know?
okay. That's a good rule. So, yeah, no, like you're right about frozen steak versus like. So I buy my steaks in packs of like, I think they're packs of 6.
Right.
Yeah, and so whenever I buy those, that night is steak night. So because
Sure.
we get one fresh one.
Yeah.
So and then I freeze the rest. But I've gotten it so that I'll wrap each individual one individually in plastic and then stuff them in a freezer bag so they don't burn. So and it's about as good as I can get it. So
Without one of those professional like wrapping you to,
yeah, what are they? The vacuum
shrink
sealer.
wrapper,
It's a shrink wrapper.
I had a vacuum sealer.
Did you?
Yeah, it broke.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you do that sous vide stuff for a bit, or?
Okay, I knew guys that were doing it. I worked with dudes that were doing it. It's fine. It's not. I tried it.
Yeah. Okay.
It didn't. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't get the big kick out of it that they did. I didn't notice the difference. It was nice, but
Yeah. Man, I just do mine on the stovetop now. So.
yeah, look the tree and some people they finish in the oven. That's
Yeah. No,
fine.
I do mine the other way around. I put it in the oven first, and then
Yeah,
I sear it. So.
and there's
But if I'm
yeah.
doing like a pot roast, it's the other way around, So, but a steak, yeah, that's fine. That's just because, man, like my house, like the ventilation in my kitchen blows. So if I
I can see that.
yeah, if I do a pan fried steak, it's 100% chance that I set off my fucking smoke alarms.
Dude,
My cat starts screaming.
dude, I can see it. Man, I mean, I'm halfway tempted to. I've seen applications where you basically take this attachment and you put it on your outdoor grill, and what it does, it turns it into a flat top.
Oh yeah, no, those are great. Yeah.
Where I'm like, you know what? I would happily cook a steak on this outside.
Dude, I got one. So, but mine's a flat griddle. So it's a cast iron thing.
Yeah.
So you just put it right on top of the burner. It's fine. That's how I make hamburgers. I smash them. So
Well, outside.
yeah, outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean that's guaranteed to sit on my fucking.
Yeah.
There's nothing smoky like hamburger meat, man. So
No, and I mean, especially too, depending on how you like it. So if you're a fucking lunatic like I am, where it's like, nah, I just want the outside I want the inside to be, nice and cool. So
Right,
you're
yeah.
basically trying to get that thing as hot as fucking possible to sear the outside,
Yeah.
but leave the inside
yep.
carnivorous. It's not even it's fucking primitive. It's
Mooing. Yeah.
I don't want to say mooing. It's just like degenerate. It's not how man was meant to eat. Like any of those games that you play where you get food and you can eat like raw rabbit meat.
Yeah.
It always penalizes you.
It probably should. Yeah. Maybe not rabbits, but like I can't remember what podcast what show it was or something like that, but these guys were talking about eating like wolf meat.
Wolf meat sounds awful.
Well, yeah, and that's what this one guy who actually done it. He's like, it's terrible, and it is full of fucking parasites. It's like anything that actually eats other animals is not something you ever want to eat. So yeah,
Yeah. That's the trick. You eat the. Okay, so the carnivores eat the plant-eating animals.
right,
We're supposed to eat the plant-eating animals.
right, yes,
Right.
yes, yeah, yes, not the carnivores.
Because if they think that fucking hyena meat tastes awful, they're probably
They're
right.
probably right.
You know why? Because they'll eat out of a trash can. They'll eat out of a toilet.
I
They'll eat.
hear bear is the worst. So, because bears is just like, fucking nature's garbage truck. So,
I suppose so.
yeah, well, they're omnivorous. They'll eat anything.
Right.
So, yeah, so they'll eat bugs. They'll eat other things. They'll eat dead things. Then they'll mix some berries in it that are poisonous for you, me to eat. They'll go up to the mountains and eat moths.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And because of that, basically like impenetrable like fur face, right? That means that they don't just eat the honey; they eat the bugs in it. They eat the fucking bees and the larvae, and they,
Oh yeah,
they eat the women and the children. Which, of course, you know, when you look at the movie, she should be like, well, I'm dumping you. You.
Well, yeah, exactly. You fucking monster. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, don't call me. You know,
Right.
I can't bring you home to my mother. You know,
So lose my fucking number.
lose my fucking number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you psychopathic killer.
What are you supposed to say to that? I mean, yes, I understand. Like, you're mad that your mother got railroaded by fucking sand people. I'm like, yeah, of course. I hate those people too, right? But
Oh, that's right. That did happen.
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
he was so pissed off.
Right.
But
Was it insinuated that she was raped by the sand people?
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't think
Okay.
they said so.
Well, I know this is George Lucas kind of tame Star Wars time. So
Well, I'm just. What they never got into was like, I don't know about the mating habits of the sand people. You know, from some fiction I've read, like creatures like goblins are they don't have women.
see, and that's what I thought. They were kind of like, yeah, like the Urukai. You just hatch them out of the ground. You know?
They're corrupted elves.
They're corrupted elves, yeah.
Yeah. So they'd be like corrupted Twi'leks or something
yeah.
buried in the fucking dirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, there might not be female sand people.
There might not, and it may be that they basically like capture females for breeding purposes. That's what goblins do.
Right. Yeah. So it's a very Mongol type society.
Well, they had Mongol women. That's
You're
the
right.
thing is-
They did, yeah.
I mean, I do think it would be funny if there was a breed of humans where no females were born. It just didn't happen, right?
Oh yeah.
So in order for so if you're talking about those things that like say, you know, some of your more militant BLM types say that you know, white people do, where they were capturing like slaves just for, you know, white breeding purposes or whatever. The other kind of fucking nonsense.
Oh right. Yeah. The Kunta Kinte capture.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
we
right.
just throw a net over you.
Yes.
Get on the
Right.
boat. You know.
Right. So if there were a species of human where only males were born, right? And so you'd hear these stories about how let me pick some. Okay, so Assyrians only only captured like Babylonian women or whatever.
Right.
And it was well documented.
Yeah. So they could just mate with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't.
Right. But then would they produce girls? No.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have to keep capturing girls from. Actually, you know,
Eventually you're gonna piss the neighbors off if you do that.
like, you're gonna piss the neighbors off. They're gonna fight you for
They're
it.
gonna fight you.
I could, if you're going to make an argument that a culture had that going on, maybe that's like Nordish.
The Norwegians?
Yeah. In terms of
The
like
Vikings?
Yeah. So why are you conquesting? It's like, well, because we don't make women. But I know that's not true.
Yeah, no. That would make an interesting backstory, but
Right.
yeah, no, they were just savages. So
No, it would have to be like a group you wouldn't expect, like Greeks or
yeah, that actually makes more sense.
the native British.
Okay, there you
The
go.
indigenous
The
British.
indigenous picks, the blue painted, Braveheart people. Yeah,
The ones that Caesar thought were too stupid to conquer.
you just build a wall.
Yeah.
It's to keep them out.
Why are we building this here? It seems like we're taking half of this. It's like, yep, we just want half.
Yeah, the other half
And
sucks.
we want- yeah.
Yeah,
It would not be worth it to keep it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I made a joke about that too. There was
Twitter.
yeah, it made me laugh. There was this video of, it was like the most distinctly British thing that I'd seen in a while. It was this guy's got his dash cam on.
Uh-huh.
And he's driving, and somebody kind of like comes through on the opposite side a little bit, so he loses control, goes over in the over on the flip side, and ends up rolling over his car, and he's got to climb out the driver's side, right?
Yeah, this is his dash cam.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Catch them the whole time. And basically the detail of the video is that as it's happening, he's going like, "Oh no!" Just like, "Whoops!"
Oh,
right?
oops. Oh yeah.
And
Oh dear.
he climbs out the window. He's just like, "Oh, this is not good." And the other driver is coming up. He's like, "No injuries. Everything's quite all right. Why don't we just go ahead and hash this out between the two of us?" And
Are they gonna roll his car back over?
he was virtually unaffected and very polite the whole time. And that was the joke that I made, was the caption was like, "This is the most British car accident I've ever seen." It was like, it was like, this isn't happening in Britain. They're not speaking Arabic.
Oh right. Oh,
Right.
oh Jeff. He's easily got 1,000 likes. Yeah.
It didn't get that much traction, but the responses to it were what I was looking for.
So I was cruising the YouTube the other day to try and find that video about America Sucks.
Oh, right,
It's not by a guy named Brit Monkee, is it?
If you're asking me off the top
Yeah,
of my
okay.
head, I can't tell you.
So I don't think that's the one that you're talking about, because I watched that one again, because he cranks out a video about every 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And he created an absolute fucking teardown of Britain that was an hour and a half long yesterday.
Okay.
I had to watch it like 3 fucking times. It's so funny. So, I didn't realize how shabby that country is now.
What do you want to? What did you see? What
So-
did you see that surprised you?
So
is
this
my
guy's
question.
obviously not a Tory supporter. Okay, so he's obviously a Labor guy. All right, he doesn't go into race and stuff like that and immigration too much. But when he does hit it, he's like, "You guys have one fucking job, okay, and you didn't even do that right," which was the immigration. So, and it's like a 6-part video. It talks about how the NHS is actually terrible. So it talks about how, like, in Britain you can't build a fucking mailbox without a permit. So, and they'll shoot it down if you try. So,
with tow missiles.
with tow missiles, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was just vicious, man. So, but he was talking about how, like, Brexit was, this thing that was supposed to help a whole bunch of people, but it's actually just made it infinitely worse, because basically, like, it murdered off just about every small English business out there. So,
How did Brexit do that? What wasn't? I thought the whole thing about it was essentially like protectionist against that kind of thing.
I don't really know, so
Right.
to tell you the truth, but he was showing the stats on it. It was like, wow, that's pretty bad. And so part of it has to do with the fact that you can't get financing for a small business anymore. So
What?
yeah, so London is no longer the New York of Europe. So they have absconded to places elsewhere. So
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, the like little shops that used to be on the bottom floor of every apartment complex, they're all boarded up, man. It's weird. So
Oh, they just can't afford to.
they can't afford to stay in
Oh,
business.
yeah.
Yeah, so because they got to pay the import tariffs on all kinds of shit now. That they're no longer in the EU, and so
So that I mean that does sound like what Brexit was designed to fix. Was that it was supposed to be divorcing from that.
Yeah, but I don't think that like it's kind of like NAFTA in some respects. So like NAFTA put a lot of our small businesses out of business. So, but then like it just means that they had to change a little bit, and now like small business community is fine. So I have no idea, man. But it basically meant that like if you want to get anything from your closest suppliers, which are in Europe, you're paying a tariff on it.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Got that.
So,
that
yeah.
I see. Okay. So that's where the overlap is problematic. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it's
Okay.
like on simple things like fish and vegetables. So yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. That actually. That sounds like. That makes sense because either you go all the way or you don't. Because there is a version of this where if you say, all right, so we're going to box you out, right? And it's not just by tariffs. It's like, so what we want is essentially for the business to happen within the British Isles, right?
Right.
So you're basically like squeezed, like, okay, so you can't get French fish or whatever, right?
Yep.
Spanish, whatever. It's like, without it being super expensive. Got it. Okay. Well, that means that the local stuff is going to go from here to here, and it's on an $18 flight, so it's all, local, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you'd think it works that way, but apparently it doesn't. So,
well, the entirety of Great Britain is what it's the size of
California.
Yeah.
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 A little bit bigger. So.
I mean, that can be a big problem when you're like, yeah, well, okay, so we have one place and essentially one climate.
Yeah.
So it can be problematic when, look.
Well, and you can't force your local suppliers to sell things in the local market.
Yeah.
So, if they can get a higher price for them in the EU because they want English fucking marmalade or whatever. Whatever it is that
Shame on you.
Whatever the fuck it is that Britain exports. I don't even know what that is. I mean, I've seen that like HP sauce. So
but that doesn't carry that can't be your whole
like
economy.
Really the lifeblood of their economy, yeah. So and they like Costco, they have this absolutely horrifying English cheese. So it's just rank. So
Did you eat it?
Yeah.
How was it?
So my mother-in-law had it when I was visiting her. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. But I just ate a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But it comes in a block like this. All right. And I'm making the size of a license plate here. So you get about 3 slices in that thing. You're like, oh, I'm good. So, and then you eat a little bit more later and it starts getting sourer and sourer. So, yeah. And it's supposed to do that. It's kind of like, ooh.
That's when people tell you it's supposed to do that. This is the flavor profile, and you're like,
okay.
It's like it's not sophisticated. It's bad. Just stop.
They have like crunchies in it too. It's weird.
Those they're Fiesta strips. They're those.
It's flavor crystals. So yeah, but anyway, he did this whole takedown video of England and sent me on this entire like podcasty / documentary exploration of like why England sucks right now. So
but
but apparently like it is like they're going through the same inflation that we're going through.
Yeah.
Their wages haven't increased in 17 years.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, wow. And they were talking, this guy was posting up like, like the NHS is losing, so they train their own doctors. So,
yes.
And they do so in some of the best universities in the world, right? So
but they do it backwards from the way that we do it.
They do it backwards, yeah. But at the same point in time, once you get marked up as a doctor, whatever that takes, you instantaneously get bombarded with offers to leave England. So, because you can make about triple just by going across the channel. You can make about quadruple if you come over here.
Yeah.
You can make at least double if you go down to Australia. So, in fact, it's kind of like the Wyoming State Patrol advertising for cops in Denver. So the Australians have like a funded campaign to actually recruit doctors out of the NHS. So yeah,
if they want to leave, well, okay. So that system, like if you think about it, so where you go, it's weird. If you think about it in practicality. It's very different from what we have here. Because if you think about it where you say, like, all right, so let me get this straight. You go from general practice to specialization here, right? Where it's basically, Yeah,
you do it the other way around there. Yeah.
And that's something that seems... Because once you hit that big level, then you're pretty much good at everything.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least a specialization that has then taken you into, like, general knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Versus if you hire a GP here, you don't necessarily, it's like, do you also do radiology? It's like, no. It's like, shit. No, well, that's
GPs are a dying breed in the United States, man.
Yeah.
We won't have them in 10 years. So, I mean, just because, like, that whole segment of the market has basically been taken over by NPs. So,
yeah.
Who basically can run you to the specialist you need to go to or prescribe the shit that just like, okay, you need a Z-Pack, all right? So otherwise your head's going to explode. Here you go, buddy. So,
yep.
You need a doctor's note to stay home for 3 days? You got it. So it's like, great. I don't need to pay someone $150,000 a year to tell me that. So,
right. And especially when you get down to it and say, like, so what did you do? It's like, well, I took your symptoms.
Right.
I put it in my phone. It said,
Right.
do these 4 things.
Yep.
I did them.
I did them.
You have this.
You have this. Yep.
That'll be $50,000.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah. No, there's a reason why it's going this way. So.
You know what? And that's actually a legitimately brilliant cost-cutting measure in its own right. Where I never thought about that. I never thought about, we talked about this, and maybe this just takes longer for it to develop, is when we talked about a long time ago, we talked about like the evaporation of the middle class, but it wasn't evaporation, it was transitory, right? Where it's jobs move out of the middle class as it becomes easier, right? So that's where like website developers went.
Yeah. That all got farmed out.
Exactly. Well, it went from a 4-story house to 3, then
One. Yeah.
1 with an unfinished basement.
And now it's a hut.
And now it's like, what do we need you for? I hit the button. It says like, what do you want to make? It's like this. It's like, I made this for you. Do you want to change it? Like, nah.
This will do.
You kind of got what I want to do. So if you think about medicine that same way, where it's like, all right, so the doctors were that. Either you specialize into something that nobody else can do, or it gets passed down to, well, we can pay you less because you're not going to all these years of school.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what's...
Yeah.
So, like in NP, you don't have to do residency the same way that you do
Right.
as a doctor.
Right.
So, because it takes what? It's 4 years of college, 4 years of med school, and at least 4 years of residency. Minimum.
Yeah.
So the earliest from start to finish is 12 years.
Yes.
So, yeah, before you can mark up. And usually you have to do... There's something else that you have to do in there.
Yeah, there's like practicals and stuff like that. I know that there's like additional like testing periods and other stuff like that. But yeah, it's not just well, here's your path. You're gonna just walk this from here to here.
No. Yeah, no.
So yeah, I get it, and that makes perfect sense. But yeah, if you have a place out there that's essentially government funded, that's basically building up the skill set of all these people, and then the minute that turns around, they say like, okay, well, you know what? It costs us this much to train you. Hey, go ahead and get to work, right? And if somebody out there looks and says like, all right, well, I know that they are willing to pay you this.
Yeah.
Do medicine.
Yeah.
For me here.
Yeah. And
Right.
I'll give you a lot more money.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to get mad at these people for saying no or saying yes?
No, I'm not mad at them. So, yeah.
No, but the Brits probably are.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, well, they just complained about the government. So,
Right.
the government's fucking it up. And it's like, okay. Well, yeah, if your entire healthcare system is controlled by the government, that's who you blame.
Well, because yeah, if you have, this is one of those things that that people struggle with. It's the same thing as like blaming the fans. It's like, all right, so if the feedback has been, we're leaving because you're not paying us enough,
Right.
right? And your response is, actually, it's your patients that are stupid, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is if you have the feedback that says, in order to retain your staff, you must do this, and you say no, right? If they say, it's those same kind of surveys that you get in the office, like, what do they call it? The office, like, not temperament, but attitude or
Oh, yeah, sure.
I can't remember the actual term, but it's attitude survey.
Yeah,
right?
you could do those.
When you get like 70% of the things that say like, what would make you happy? You say like a raise, and they say like, hey, we put in an air hockey table, right?
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I do that for a living.
I say,
Yeah. You don't ask people if they want more money because everybody will say yes to that, even if they don't need no more money, because they say, hey, man, maybe the boss is paying attention to this. And so if we all get together up in circle A, let's say, then maybe we'll get a raise.
right. Scratch in the bottom one and write in other.
It's the exact same thing if you ask people whether or not they want their taxes cut. It's So even if you don't care,
yeah.
you'll say yes, just because, like, maybe we'll get it. If we all say yes on this
Is it just that gamified? Like people know?
people are that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why you've never asked that question.
No. Yeah, and I've seen so many surveys where people do that, and they're like, "Oh my God, we need a tax cut." It's like, no, you need to take that off the fucking survey, and then find out whether or not people are actually hurting because of taxes. So, it's like, people who write surveys think that people are stupid, but they're not. Especially if it's in a job where it's like, oh, the boss has got this big consultant coming in doing a survey. So they will, I guarantee you, get together. All right, so, or at least lots of them will. So, yeah.
So what you're telling me is, if you put out one of these surveys,
Yeah.
right, and regardless of what else is being offered, if option one is more money for less work, they will
always choose that. They will always, always, always choose that. Yes, just because you might get it. So, but then if you don't get it, you get a air hockey table. People are kind of like, cool, I like air hockey. But I was going to write down on a survey, because then what we would get, we get like fucking 2 ping pong paddles, So I told to go out in the garage.
well, they just reiterate what you have. That's this. We know you said you wanted an air hockey table. You get 2 breaks.
Right, yeah.
They are 10 minutes apiece
10 minutes
every
apiece,
4 hours. That's just how it goes.
Can't be the first or last hour of your shift.
Right.
Yeah, no. So surveys stuff like that they're stupid, man. So, but yeah, people do them all the time, man. All the time.
Well, is it fair? Is it fair to? I mean, does it make sense to actually take the attitude of your employees? Does
Sure.
that, or is it better to just? To me, it seems like are you know exactly what it takes in terms of coming up with a meaningful sample, right?
Yeah.
So if you basically, let's say you have 500 employees, right?
Yeah.
And you don't tell them what you're doing, right? You just basically, like, they're working, and then on a Tuesday, like, 3 guys come up to one of your employees at random, okay? Put a hood over his head and take
Just buy a sample. What the fuck, man?
Right. You don't tell them what you're doing. You let them know. It's like, if you talk about what we talked about here, you're done. And you take an appropriate sample and ask the person that.
Yeah.
Would you get better results by doing that?
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
Yeah, you would. So, and if you had that many employees, I mean, it'd be almost impossible to survey all 500. So yeah, you'd want to do some kind of like sampling strategy on it. I mean, but even if you if you had 500 employees and you're the boss, you should go around and fucking ask people. Yeah, it's way easier than now. If you run Amazon and you got 20 million employees,
right?
Okay, survey time. So.
But you don't say more money for less work.
You don't put that on there. Yeah. So.
But that's what everyone wants.
Of course, that's what everybody wants, because you're not dumb, Jeff. So, yeah. And, as far as they're concerned, you as the company or as the manager are just a great big fucking piggy bank who's holding them down in life. So if my boss just wasn't such a dick, I could buy a house. And it's like, no, not really. So.
Okay, so let me reframe that mathematically then, because I don't know if you've ever looked at this statistically or not. Maybe you can break this out for me. Here is, so a company like Amazon, right? If you're going to talk about their profit, right, which they do.
Yeah, I think, they've had a couple rough quarters, but I think they're back in profitable.
But generally speaking, if I were to say, like, hey, give me an average profit over X amount of time, you'd probably see a trend that goes upward, right? And you say, like, all right, so...
Cumulatively, yeah.
Well, whatever. Something that gave you a fair measurement, right? So if I were to say, how much does Amazon profit per each hour of work by employee?
Yeah,
So,
they figure those things out.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to say that, how much would you think that would be for a company like
Pennies.
that? That's what I'm saying here. Is like, when we talk about, so they say, well, this CEO and the board members make this much, right?
Yeah.
They're doing it by basically making pennies off of what each person makes.
That's the Marxist argument, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a guy with a haircut who needed a haircut. Who made that argument.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
That's his fundamental
when they talk about, like, okay, they make their money off of that. So if they turn around and say, like, all right, so if the board members are making $250,000 a year, and they said, like, well, let's scratch that to 150 and give it back to the employees, how much would they?
Jesus, nobody. It's like you'd see a penny every other week.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when they talk about
So-
like skinning the
You can't skin management, man. It's not that thick. So now there are companies that are kind of like that, where I mean, like Twitter is a good example of that, where you're gonna want fat in their place, you know.
used to.
And then see, he's trying to make it profitable. So how were the guys at Twitter making money before? Well, they basically had a big, grab bag of company stock, and they'd sell it every now and then in order to cover their bills. So, and then they go out and they'd say, hey, here's our revenue, and this is what we've made every single year. And they go get some dumbass VC out there. So it was like, oh, I want to get on the back end and all this. It's, I want to get a little second round of funding, So they would be able to drum up additional equity buys. So, I mean, at least that's my understanding. I don't know how accurate that is.
That sounds a little bit snake oily, but
it's totally snake oily,
right.
yeah. So I think that's the feature, not the bug.
What is it? Okay, so I guess that's the question. In the tech industry, Patrick, what is the percentage of snake oil to real oil in
99 to 1. Yeah, it's 99 to 1. So I actually saw like a thing on that too. So I went and watched that Spotify thing.
Yeah.
He talks about that extensively in the middle of that video about how like the number of what was used to call unicorn startups. I'm making dick quotes here. So, for the viewers at home. So it was like at its peak in 2015, and since then it's like nothing. There's nothing because everybody lost so much fucking money. So yeah.
And that was the breakdown unicorn startups for me one more time. Break down the so do we have it on record?
So a unicorn startup at the point in time was a startup that just like it was such an obviously clear business like case and need that it wasn't going to fail. Okay, and then so in the beginning there were a few of those out there that made sense. Like Amazon makes sense fundamentally at the point in time where it was. So Facebook kind of makes sense. Netflix definitely made sense when they switched over to streaming platforms. So
even when they
Spotify was in that, it was like, hey, let's unify all the audio stuff that you can get under one roof.
Yeah.
So these are your unicorns, and they were supposed to be rare finds, but it's basically guaranteed cash cows if you could get in private equity. And so before it went, public. So. And that worked out for a lot of people. That's why, if you take a look at the 100 richest people in the world, about half of them, live like within 30 miles of each other in California.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So they've had dinner with each other.
Yeah, they go to the same parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's basically what that is, at least according to my understanding of it. But what happened was like, okay, it was like being on crack. You always have to look for the next hit. So, and so then they would find companies that was like, oh, this is great. There's this little box that you stick your finger in and it takes all your blood. And it takes like 5 fucking seconds and you know whether or not you have cancer. It's like, yeah, this is great. So there you go. Yeah.
But doesn't regular like blood stuff have to like spin it around?
No. We use a computer.
So why do those other blood labs still have to like spin it around and preheat the oven to 325?
Right. Yeah. Let it cool for 15 minutes afterwards. On a wire rack. Yeah.
Well, because they're dumb. Did we tell you that our founder is a woman with a turtleneck?
With the turtleneck who dropped out of Stanford?
Yeah.
Yeah. Smart.
And then you have a bunch of goofballs that are like, oh, well, of course I should support this.
Dude, so I don't know if you read the book on that. I read the book.
I didn't read the book.
The book is excellent. So the people who backed her were they were all Republicans. They were all like old school State Department guys.
A lot of them, like dudes like Spielberg got in on it, and he's no Republican.
But the big one was Kissinger.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
So the big one was Kissinger, and then who's the guy? He was the Secretary of State under Eisenhower. The two big guys that are big Silicon Valley like guru guys. I mean, fucking James Mattis was on her board too. So, it was just like one of these things where like they had their darling girl,
Yeah. Yeah.
So because she played the political game, man. So she'd go to the conventions and things like that. She'd raise money. So in a blue state for a red team. And so she got a lot of attention for people who are just dumb. About that kind of. So you put it in the computer?
Yeah, it's I know the there are plenty of famous examples like that, but I think she's one of the most egregious. But then again, she's in jail for a reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean she's got 2 small kids now. They don't have a mother, so
Yeah.
which sucks. So, but hey, man, you steal millions of dollars from people. That's what happens to you. So
Right, and it's when you look at the scale of this, it's not one of those. Well, so how did this happen? It's like, well, so this is my Kickstarter page. I just didn't deliver, right? That at that point, they just look at the writer on that and say, oh, well, you don't have to.
buyer beware. Yep.
Yeah. And I got it. I believe on there you are legally required to follow through on like deliverables.
I don't know.
Like if you promise certain things, you say like, all right, so if you're going to treat this like a business where you're like, because most places are like, okay, you donate $1, you get your name in the credits. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Right. They have to do that. Right. If you were, I believe they have some form of this where you can get like profit out of it, but I don't remember.
Oh, of course you can. Yeah.
So if you make profit and don't, then I think your ass is in trouble. Right.
I don't know.
But if the shit goes belly up and
I think you can kind of write your own ticket on that thing as long as you disclose what you're going to do and what happens if you don't do it.
Right.
So if you say, well, I'm going to jump off Mount Everest once I get $100,000, but if I don't, I'm going to keep your money. And people still send you $1, they're going to lose their dollar. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's stipulated in there. But if you say that, hey, I will pay you a dividend based off of these numbers, I think you have to do it if you don't stipulate that.
Yeah. I know that they got in a lot of trouble for that. There were a couple guys, because that had to do with securities fraud.
That's the thing.
It did,
It's
yeah.
absolute fraud.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of like if
Who
it
the fuck
fails,
did that?
it's a pretty I don't remember the case, but I mean I remember it being a big deal.
Well, I know it's happened to a couple video games, but
Yeah.
not in terms of like
Yeah.
we're going to pay you a dividend.
Exactly. But
But it was something else where they got in a shitload of trouble. What's that one that's been in development for like 12 years and has raised like $60 million?
are you talking about that space game?
Yeah, and it's still not out.
I can't.
It was supposed to be like Starfield, but not.
Right, but
But like 12 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I know exactly I could find it in 2 seconds. I don't remember
Yeah.
the name of it, but evidently there's parts that are playable and things like that. But yeah, it's trouble, and it's not like the. So I remember one of the other famous ones was that guy who I don't know what happened to this dude, but he had an online like comic, right? And he was raising money to put out like a print edition. And once he did it, shipping costs were more than he expected.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember this?
I do remember that.
And what he ended up doing was like publicly burning all their books
Yeah.
in an anti-capitalist rant.
Right.
And he's like, if you ask me to send it to you, I will burn it. And I don't know how that goes. I don't
know either. Well, then on top of that if that's easy, was he in the United States too? Because that happens a lot, man.
yeah.
Yeah, where you actually is like, oh wait, you're in Australia, where they don't give 2 fucks about any of our laws. Got it. So, or France. France is the place where, like,
Yeah.
it is the capital of software piracy.
Oddly enough.
It really is, because they have like specific laws in there where you cannot copyright some of this shit. So, yeah.
Well, it's weird. You're right, because in France, they don't care about it. Or, well, okay, they set laws to make it easy. In Russia, they just don't care.
Yeah, that's
Regardless of whether law... So that...
Yeah, but then the problem is getting your money out.
Well, that's the thing, there's 2... You said that France is what, the king of software piracy?
Something like, well, no, it's not. I guess that would be Russia.
Well, I was just going to say, if they're king, then there is there is a warlord, or I don't know what other kind.
Yeah, an emperor. Yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah,
it.
a great emperor of the East Coast. Yeah, of the rising sun. Yeah, so I don't know, man. But yeah, no, like France has like limitations on how long you can hold a copyright for, and so it is
We
like
do too, theoretically.
we do too theoretically, but you can keep renewing it. But I know France is like if you want to go find games that are more than 10 years old and play them streaming online, you can do it
Yeah.
as long as you can get basically an EU fucking VPN setup. So you try and do it here in the United States, and you get the FBI page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
like we know where you
you
live.
know you live. So yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I suppose I guess my issue here is I believe it's 100 years from the death of the.
For what? When copyrights expire?
Yes.
I think they're good for 10 years, and then you have to pay for them, every so many years in order to renew it. And then after that, don't quote me on this, but yes, you're right. There is a hard cap way down the road and that's what happened to Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. So it's less than 100 years because Walt Disney died in the 60s. So might be 50 years. Don't know.
I think 100 years is what they were lobbying for.
That might be it.
I think it was what they were lobbying for. And what I do know is that they did have it extended by law, because it's specifically known as the Disney law.
Yeah.
Where their shit should have fallen into public domain decades ago.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, man. I sort of go back and forth on that one. It's sort of weird.
I think copyright is one of the bedrock, like laws that we have in this country that actually make it not suck. So
I agree. It's a question for me of how long that should work. So, like, there is
as long as you're alive, that's for sure. So yeah,
I think yeah. See, that kind of the issue I have with this is basically like, so if you have this and it essentially passes on to the estate of you,
yeah.
right? What I can tell you is there are plenty of examples where I can say, well, the estate of so-and-so didn't really represent the original creator's vision all that well.
Yeah, no, that's happened quite a bit.
I mean, and that's not to say that I'm here to say that it should all be within line of this if the copyright expires. It's just eventually you need to get to a point where, yes, maybe when the creator dies, then yes, other people can make alien movies or that kind of thing or something. It just,
I don't know, but like if you pass that on to like your kids or something like that and say, hey, use this to not have to work, so it should probably be good for their lifetime too, so
I don't know.
Well, it's no different than passing on a house to somebody, so I mean it's a piece of property, so you own it, you bought it, you paid for it, so or you built it, so it should belong to you in some respects. I mean, I get where you're going with this, man, because like eventually something just hits like a cultural zeitgeist where it's kind of like collective property. So, but but see the difference is that even if it is owned as collective property, so I still think the profits of that should actually go to the original, so the owner. So
if that person's alive, I feel like it's...
Well, if I sell it to Fox and they want to use it for the next 100 years, okay, I got paid, but they paid me for it, so now it's theirs. So,
all right, hold on. All right, so what... I suppose the first consideration that I would have to take is I would have to set it up in a way where it would be not advantageous to have the copyright holder killed.
Right, yeah.
That's something that I would have to take consideration for, because, yeah, if the copyright just ended upon the death of the owner,
it's hunting season.
20th Century Fox would have you sniped.
Yeah.
We would have a lot of just natural deaths.
Right.
Very suspicious. So yeah, okay. So I'd have to I'd have to lead out against that. But yeah, something where, yeah, I feel like, it's been since 1977. I feel like Star Wars should belong to the public by now.
1977? That's not even 50 years. So,
Close enough.
I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe, but
Because
even
it's in the cultural zeitgeist. I mean, that's the thing.
yeah, but you'd have to start that moving forward. So, because
I agree.
yeah,
Yes,
because
yes,
then, like,
yes,
if
yes.
Disney said, well, so here it is, 2010, and this thing expires in 15 years, they ain't giving no fucking $2 billion to George Lucas for it.
No, I understand.
So,
yeah.
No, I don't know. There might be clarification there that I'm not aware of, too. So I have no idea. Copyright law and patent law are two things that I've had students ask me about them over years, and I'm like, you need to talk to a professional. So I'm sorry, stop asking me townie questions. So stop asking me, the townie, these kind of questions. So
Oh, fucking it. Because, on top of that, even if you could give some, informed answers on this, you could also say, like, look, fact of the matter is, this could change tomorrow because of a court in Texas where they decide all this shit. So
I think most of that shit's been hashed out pretty good.
it was a nightmare for a long time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Patent trolls, yeah.
I think that's still a thing, but I know that a couple of those rings got busted up. So
it was disgraceful for a minute.
Well, it's the
stifling.
complete gamification of the system, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
there needs to be a legal version of, like, I see what you're doing.
Right, yeah. There needs to be a legal exploit video guy out there who's like, no, this is perfectly balanced, So, and then the devs say, oh, fuck, we didn't notice that. He's like, yeah, I know. It's my job to point these things out.
Yeah, and they should probably call that the Columbia House rule, where it's like, wait a second. It's like, you get the product if you don't send in the card.
Right, yeah.
You consent to getting something that you don't ask for just by failing to send this in. This seems...
Right, they used to do that.
I know what you're doing.
I don't know if we got on Columbia, but I know we got on Publishers Clearinghouse a few times on that one.
Didn't they have a similar kind of model?
Yeah, they
kind
of did. Yeah. If you participated 1 year, so it wasn't like they blanket mail it to everybody in the neighborhood. They would. But if you responded, because you're like $1 million,
right?
Which was like $1 billion back then.
Oh yeah.
So you're like, oh my god. So imagine what we could do. So I could own this town, kind of thing. But then you had to pick like 4 or 5 magazines using those stamps, and then you put them on the thing, and then ta-da, you got a year-long membership to those, each of those, and they were discounted, heavily discounted off the cover price.
Yep.
So
it was a deal.
It was a deal. Okay, but then yes, you're right. Next year they would send you a new batch of stamps, and some of those would already be filled in. So, yes, and so you had to put other stickers over them, or had to put the no thank you sticker on top of them, yes.
Well, yeah, you're right, you're right. I think a lot of people ended up with U.S. News and World Report.
I think that's the only reason why Newsweek was still a thing, yeah. So...
Yeah. And again, I think there just needs to be a certain clause of, like, I know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
You're not
it's
slick.
obvious, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But that was kind of new back then, so...
It was.
I used to look forward to that, man, and they do the big drawing every year during The Price is Right. Or no, it was during Wheel of Fortune. So, it was...
Was it? Okay, yeah. All right.
So...
and that's... Yeah, Columbia House was the same thing.
Same thing.
Now, granted, I understand, like, the wall that they're up against, because they took a lot of things in good faith, where they're like, look, we know that people are making up fake names. We know that people are putting in their neighbor's address
right,
and raiding their mailboxes. We're going to have to accept these kind of losses. Yeah. And to offset it, we have to have this completely buffongoed system of you have to tell us you don't want the product.
Or we're going to send you the product and then bill you.
And that was the thing. It wasn't... The shit that they sent you was never... Like, because you never look around and say, like, oh, I didn't have this Billy Joel album, but now I do.
Now I do.
Right? Yeah. It was always some fucking, like, dog shit, like, female folk singer garbage. I mean, I can tell you the stuff that I got by accident, where... It's like, nobody wants this.
Yeah,
you have
like
extra
Christmas
of this.
carols.
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
from like the best of the Monkees Christmas carols. You know,
Hey, hey,
yeah.
and that was the offense. You're like, monkeys. It's like, I wouldn't wipe my ass with this. Why is this?
I would have wiped
Why
your
would
ass with this. Yeah.
And it wasn't even like funny shit. It wasn't. It wasn't like you wouldn't get something like the Muppets sing like TV themes or whatever. It was
Right.
always some dog shit fucking female folk singer garbage.
I don't remember getting music from them. I remember videos though.
Oh, video. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I do remember videos. So, because we opted into that, and I got several dozens of VHSs out of them over the years.
Did you ever get anything good?
Yeah, no, a lot of it was like really good stuff, but yeah, I mean, you pay a little extra for it, but it was cheaper than it was at Best Buy. So, yeah. And then the other thing, but then yeah, like if you didn't put this sticker, on top of one of the other ones, then that's how you wound up with like some fucking Richard Simmons workout video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, sweating to the oldies or something.
Nobody will know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
If somebody knows what I'm talking about, good for you. So, but yeah.
Like we are well out of the realm of people knowing what 8-minute abs is, and
All right, yeah.
if I were to,
They might know what the shake weight is.
they know what the shake weight is, but they'd
Yeah.
have no idea what a thigh master
They
is.
don't. They've never seen a thigh master. Yeah. So, what was the flex grip thing? The rotating thing? You're supposed to get Popeye forearms.
With push-ups.
No. It was like this thing that you looked like a figure eight that you put your hands in and twisted them back and forth like this. So.
Shit, that one escapes me.
I remember that one.
I remember the perfect push-up where it had the rotating handles.
Oh, I remember that one. Yep, nope, that was not this. This was something else.
And those are actually difficult.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, try those.
I can't.
They're hard.
Yeah.
The guy brought them into work.
My arm would pop right off.
Well, what's weird is, okay, now it would, but at the time they were actually way better for your form.
No, they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they taught us to do them that way at the gym, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, these would actually rotate.
Yeah, and what did you put on the ground?
Well, this would be something else. So these things were designed to actually rotate.
Oh no, this is when you're doing rows, ring rows.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind. I was about to say, yeah, that's how he taught us how to do ring rows. It's like rotate. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, people have no idea what this shit is that we're talking about. I mean, I believe that things like, if I were to say like the Walkman, I think there's still cultural cash with that people know.
They've all seen
You know.
Stranger Things, man. They got a Walkman in there.
Right. But there are certain things like, you guys have no idea. If I talk about like the Miracle Blade 3 knife, you guys don't know. If I talk,
The Rotato. Yeah.
I don't. There may be a version of that out now, but I don't know.
There might be, yeah.
I think that people, because of the impact of the commercial, might still know what a ShamWow is or a.
Billy Mays here.
Yeah,
in between hits of cocaine.
They might know what like a quick chop is.
Slap chop.
Slap
Slap
yeah,
chop.
okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you know. I don't. Maybe it's still out there like kids, but
Yeah.
that thing worked like garbage too.
That thing was a piece of shit. My mom had one. So, thought it was a great idea.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It broke like within a week.
So we got one, and this was the problem was, all right, so it is
Weird squiggly blade in it.
well, that was the point,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to rotate as
Yeah.
you basically press it. So in theory, this thing worked. We found out, like when we bought it, and this was a collective. For a while, we were all buying shit off TV and trying it. We're like, all right, well, in theory, this works, but this blade doesn't seem to be really doing the job. Like, if it hits something hard, like, when Vince would be like, "You're gonna love my nuts," and he'd go out there and hit the walnuts, like, all right, that kind of works because what it's doing is sort of breaking up a hard product.
Yeah.
Right. You put like a small piece of cheese in there or something, it's not gonna cut it. It's just gonna like move
He's
it
gonna
around.
just move it around, yeah.
Right. So we're like, well, okay, so part of the problem here must be that And we looked at it, it's like, this blade is not nearly sharp enough.
No, it's not.
So we sharpened it.
It was really hard to sharpen too.
It was really hard to sharpen. We used, like, I don't want to say professional tools, but we got it sharper.
Because it was shaped like a W, if I'm not mistaken.
It
was a squiggle or a W.
Yeah, it was shaped like a, it was shaped like a potato masher. Like the,
yeah, classic, you're right. Yeah,
you know, radiator.
Yep.
Yeah.
The like TV antenna.
So we had to get in there with a Dremel or
yeah.
And we sharpened the shit out of it, so it was sharp.
Yeah,
it just didn't work.
Because
the problem here is, in order for that to be effective, right, it would have to have a lot more weight applied to it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're gonna put in a potato or something in there that's like, God help you, if you put in a raw potato, right?
Oh yeah.
Carrots
or something.
You're not just gonna go boom 1, boom 2 like this guy does, right? You have to get tons of force on it, and you shouldn't be in the position where you're ever like pushing your way through it. It should just bounce through.
Yeah.
And that would be about like 10 watermelons worth of weight.
Yeah.
That would be like hitting this thing pneumatically.
Right.
Big time disappointment.
Yeah. No, I just remember the blade being really dull.
It sucked.
Yeah.
No, it was basically just a piece of metal.
Yeah,
it really was.
It needed razor blades in it, so.
Even then, like I have basically I have a couple of tools out there. One is whatever they call it is the mandolin slicer.
Oh, that's dangerous, man.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
They work.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Oh,
right?
really? Oh.
There are benefits and there are limitations. You take your risks with it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, granted, they give you like a fucking falconer's glove so that you don't. Which is weird to be holding a ham with and basically doing this, but it works.
Oh, right. You know, my dad had a meat slicer, an old deli meat slicer.
The round. Those work.
Those work great.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's still in my mom's basement because my dad was proud of that motherfucker.
He should be.
Well, yeah, he would make like whenever you had like Christmas ham and there was the end. Yes. So you would slice it up and we'd have ham sandwiches for weeks.
Yes.
So it was really good. Or same thing if you made like roast beef and you didn't eat all of it. So you just slice it. Yeah. Oh man, I bet you still has that.
Fucking corned beef, like lots pastrami. I mean, like you can get that stuff like paper thin. It's delicious.
Yeah.
And those old school ones have worked for fucking forever.
Yeah. No, my dad had one. It's about this big. It wasn't like a huge one, you see.
But that's still a good size.
It was a good size, man.
Shit.
It probably had about a 9-inch wheel on it. So yeah,
that'd take care of anything that I buy.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Check and see if she still has that.
And it was manual too. So yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't electric.
No, it had to spin somehow. I don't know.
Find it. Just ask your mom if she has it.
There's a very, very small chance that she has it, but
it's a non-zero chance.
Well, yeah, because it's like one of the things that my dad would stock away in his basement someday. So, no idea, but yeah, no, it had to be electric because it used to spin.
Right.
So I just remember him using it, and it was quiet. So, unlike every other appliance that my parents owned, which sound like it's basically like some kind of like Black and Decker like hellspawn. So
dude, don't even joke about that shit. If you ever owned an ice cream maker,
oh
yeah, that thing sounded like you were doing house repairs.
It sounded like you're grinding concrete.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Like, no, I had one of those when I was a kid.
I loved homemade ice cream.
Yeah.
I can't buy that now because if you are talking about a window to weight gain, owning your own ice cream machine is a path to destruction.
Yeah. We used to make a shitload of ice cream at once.
I know.
So it's too bad that you can't find one that you can make like a pint of ice cream. So,
it's not, Patrick. That's not the problem.
Right.
It's how much of the ingredients do you buy?
A lot. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is even if the thing only makes a pint.
Yeah.
If you still have access to the ingredients, right? That's the problem with the ice cream machine. Is you have to buy the.
What was in there?
Salt,
milk, salt, cream,
ice,
cream,
flavoring, whatever it is.
Yeah. So that's why we got rid of. That's right. That's why we got rid of that. So
What?
the ice.
Oh.
So yeah, the ice. So I grew up in a house we did not have an ice maker. So
Did you use the trays?
had to. Yeah.
I used the trays when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not. Well, it wasn't even that. Like most fridges, like the older ones, they had that thing that like blow on your ice. Ours did not have that. So you just stuck it in the freezer, and you had to wait a day if you wanted ice cubes. So
And I'm guessing you guys stacked them like 8 deep.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, we would make ice cream a couple times a year, and then after a while, it was just like no. So it's like it was so much cheaper to just buy it. So
It was, and I'm not going to say that there wasn't a charm to it. And there was something cool about just like, hey, it's ready. And
oh yeah.
For me, look, and I understand that I've taken my lumps on warm soda and like
Well, my daughter's with you on
warm soda and wobbly bacon and all these. You're just sighing right now, like. You look at me like I'm preaching a different religion in your presence.
Man.
But
yeah, exactly.
So
freaking heathen.
so I know I'm taking my lumps on this, but I loved the consistency that it came out with because it wasn't. I don't love hard ice cream.
Yeah. No, I've always loved soft serve ice cream more. It was kind of in between that, and it was like
It was.
Yeah, it was
That's
really
why I loved it. Yeah.
fluffy. Yeah, kind of ice cream. Yeah.
It wasn't the same like texture that you get either in the pint box or when you pull the lever.
Oh yeah, I haven't had lever ice cream in a while. That's my favorite though.
It's funny
Fucking
is
love
I
soft serve
love it
so much, man.
I don't know what the difference is really. I don't know what the process is if they're just like
I have no idea.
if they what kind of like bonding agent or safety concrete is, but whatever it is that makes it hard. I don't. Yeah. That's why I liked it, and it came out. It had that super, like you said, fluffy texture, and it felt great coming out of there. But yeah, if you buy more product to put through there, if you have an unending supply of ice and fucking like cream fat to throw in there, you will make more of it.
Yeah. Heavy cream is something I keep in my house almost constantly. So
There's a lot of stuff. People are surprised what you can do with
you
it.
can do a lot of shit, dude.
It replaces a lot of things.
It replaces almost everything. You can make your own butter with it. So
I wouldn't, but yes,
it's easy. So
that's. I'm content to let the Amish do some stuff, dude. It's fine.
I did it not too long ago. I was out of butter, but I had like a quart of heavy cream, and I was like, okay, I hear there's tale of how this is done, and it was way fucking easier than I even thought because I have a stand mixer, and so
Oh, okay.
it was just like,
okay. You know what? I don't have one.
pour this in there and fucking let it rip for 8 minutes. And then come back and ta-da! It's butter. So,
Bro-Am, look, okay, I don't know where we went. Okay, this happened in this state. I can promise you this. There was a field trip that we took somewhere. My class took to like a...
Churn butter?
Yes.
Yeah, it was at the old farm ranch down by the Garden of the Gods.
I think they were like wearing like period costumes.
Yes.
Okay,
I went there too. They took everybody there in sixth grade. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, great,
No, you're remembering correctly.
I didn't imagine that shit. Okay, so I remember doing that at the time. I remember it being difficult.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this takes for fucking ever. So I guess I've had this. I don't know. I guess I don't want to say I think the process of churning is beneath me.
Right.
But it feels primitive, right? But
I was just curious.
If you just put it in the stand mixer and like
and let it rip, and then
no problem,
you just squeeze it through a cheesecloth. Okay, so and then you get butter. Then it produces two things: butter and buttermilk, and that's it. Yeah, and I don't use buttermilk and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I think it's gross. So
I think you can cook with it. I understand the Duke boys drank it.
Yeah,
but my tasting of that stuff. Look, all right. So this is my fault.
Yeah.
I thought buttermilk would taste way different than it actually does.
No, it tastes, yeah.
It just tastes like sour and
It's
gross.
sour. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very sour. Yeah.
I thought it would taste like milk with extra butter in it. I thought it would be like super creamy and
Yeah.
I was like, well, I can see why they drink this.
No, it's not eggnog.
And then, well, it's not like so it's not like this plus 2 pounds of sugar and
No.
you know, orange number 1. It's I just thought it was like a meatier, like thicker version of milk. I was like, I can get on board with this. So of course, when I was gonna try it, I bought the biggest thing I could find,
oops.
and poured all of it down the sink.
Yeah. Then you just realize it's way runnier than you think it is.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can cook with it, and I can see where that taste would help,
Yeah, I've had buttermilk
like pancakes.
like pancakes, but you can make buttermilk by just taking normal milk and putting some lemon juice in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. It is not
It's essentially the same.
It is.
Yeah.
It is not the evolutionary chart, the Charlie evolutionary chart of milk,
No.
where
It does not turn into sour cream. Yeah.
I think he thought buttermilk was past sour cream.
Really? It's decomposed sour cream.
That's. I remember there was a weird step in there. It's like, wait, how does it? I don't know, man. Yeah, so it was like it goes from milk to buttermilk to sour. I think there was a. I think cottage cheese,
Cottage cheese was in
somewhere.
there, yeah. So I think cottage cheese would have to come before sour cream. So
Well,
clotted cheese.
what I'm saying is, I feel like the clots would happen like after the,
Oh, sour cream. Yeah, you're probably right.
after it formed like a stable.
It's turned into peanut butter. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I remember there were like 5 steps in it, and one of them went backwards, but I can't remember.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, that was a disappointment.
yeah, I just don't have much use for it. So
But yeah, if you have a stand mixer, that makes perfect sense. It's the same way with. Look, man, if you are ever going to make like a homemade, like hollandaise sauce,
oh yeah.
right? Where you have to stir and stir and stir.
Oh,
like, it is
yeah.
a pain in
I've
the
never
ass.
done that. I did make my own mayonnaise though, using the stand.
Same thing. Yeah.
Using the stand
Yeah.
mixer. It
Yeah.
took like 5 minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
Is that I would do that way more often, if that weren't the case.
Yeah.
All right, now you have to do me a favor.
What?
Entertain the guests for a second. You just have to monologue for a minute while I run to the bathroom.
Okay.
All right.
I will just riff.
Yes.
About
Excuse
what?
me.
Give me a topic.
Serious topic or lighthearted topic?
I don't care. First thing that comes to your mind.
Okay. This was the earlier discussion I had with a Russian person.
Okay.
Are the people of Nazi Germany responsible because they outnumbered the actual bad government? Are they partially responsible for the atrocities that happened?
Huh.
You don't just say no.
Well, no, because that's not true. Well, I don't know. So, I mean, Hitler was elected, sort of. So, what, in 1933? Well, no, his party was elected in. And then they chose them as chancellor, so I don't think anybody actually voted for Hitler. So you can't say that they're completely responsible for that. Well, I guess somebody would have to, because he was a member of, what is it, the Reichstag? And then later on, like, Germans had a really good high quality life, and so if they're guilty of anything, it's that, well, I don't want to fuck things up and not go to work on Monday, so I'm not going to protest. And then eventually he got to the point in time where if you tried to do anything like that, he was going to kill you. So no, not entirely responsible. I think Russia's different, so in some respects, maybe. So, but if they're in that situation, that situation only ends with the death of the dictator. So get to it. So as soon as somebody in Russia decides to, blow up Putin and the Wolf's Lair, then we'll kind of know where the Russian people are at. So, but my understanding is that like he is extremely popular in Russia. So, and if that's not true, that's fine. All right, but that's what it looks like from the outside. So, based upon the polling data that's out there, and Russian pollsters are actually pretty freaking good. So, they know how to get people in the right spot where they can talk about things without actually talking about things. Or at least that's my understanding. I don't know if that's necessarily true anymore or not. So, are the Russians currently responsible for Putin? Maybe a little bit. Is Putin as bad as Hitler? No. So, not even close. Not even in the same ballpark. So, at least not yet. I mean, I don't know how many people are being disappeared in Russia. It's certainly not an entire ethnicity. So, that's good. And he can't hold the state together on his own anyway. So, he's got to have 10 or 15 guys around him that you really trust. And so, it's not like it's just a one-man show. It looks like it from the outside, but I know it's not. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I don't know if they're accurate. So, the whole Russia-Ukraine thing is immensely depressing. So, and just bad for everybody involved. So I think I came to a conclusion of mostly, but not after a while.
All right.
Once he can kill you, once like all your neighbors are like, oh no, we're Nazis, and so don't talk bad about the Fuhrer.
Uh-huh.
And you talk smack about the Fuhrer, and then the Gestapo shows up and haul you away to get shot in a courtyard somewhere. Then it's probably too late. So it's no longer really your fault. 1933, when they put his party into power, yeah, that's their fault. So
that's on you. Okay.
That's on you. So, but to be fair, the Nazis didn't hold any elections after that. So there was one more round where they actually lost seats. So, and then they staged the whole Reichstag fire, and it's the communists, and blah blah blah, and Hitler became dictator. So,
well, they're in. Okay, so this is like the Chinese problem. Is like, okay, they cannot stop you with 1.4 billion of you.
Yeah, but see, like, there's a difference between, like, Hitler and the Nazis and Putin and Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
So, the Nazi party was a minority party. So, in basically a coalition government. Okay? Putin is a guy and 15 other dudes.
Right.
So, who basically control the commanding heights of the state. Okay? And they're all buddies. And he does a very Hitlerian thing. Because Hitler... They do this thing in the German military and like ministries and stuff like that. Hitler was the guy who was in charge of dishing out bonuses. So yeah. So so you got like basically gifts from the state. So for service to the state.
Right.
So you'd have a pretty modest salary even as like a field marshal. But then he'd come and he'd bonus you with like $3 million. So for fighting that battle.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So this would be
and he controlled that. So that's the whole working towards the Fuhrer, because you wanted to please him because he wrote your bonus check, just like your boss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So but that like in that party, once the election stopped, then it became the ruling party, and it outlawed all the other parties. And at that point in time, no, it's not really the fault of the Germans. Now, to their credit, they did try and kill him many times. Okay, I don't know how many times people have tried to kill Vladimir Putin, and I'm sure the answer for Xi Jinping is a flat zero.
For him, it's a flat zero. Yeah, that's that. I would say, and I would argue that Putin, they've probably tried to get at him a few times. I know that there is, given the fact that if your opposition keeps dying in mysterious circumstances, people will probably try to do something to you that were probably caught. But
it's possible.
I mean, the tough thing here is like when your government essentially, like when they do establish total control in the way that Germany did, like that should be the moment that you go after them.
It should be, but like I was saying while you were on the can, like his government was immensely popular. So he brought jobs back to Germany. So people legitimately didn't like the Jews. There are a lot of people who absolutely bought into the narrative that they got stabbed in the back during World War I by the Jews. So because they were associated with the Bolsheviks, who were actually running riots in Berlin in 1918, which is why the army had to go deal with that, and which is why when it went back to fight France, France kicked the fuck out of it.
You know,
So this is all true.
people, you know, what's funny is they're trying to rewrite that so that Jews weren't part of that Bolshevik.
Oh no, they absolutely were. Yeah.
I know that,
Yeah.
but they're trying to say that wasn't true.
Yeah, but well, I mean,
And, okay.
I'm sorry, man. That's already in ink. You can change it as much as you want.
Okay. Let me say.
Unless you're going to burn the other books, then people will figure it out.
No, hold on. Let me say it this way. Okay. When I say the Jews, I don't mean that. There were Jews.
There were definitely Jews.
Well, I just put it that way, right? Instead of that. Okay, that's the piece that needs to come out is the conspiratorial Jews.
It was a bona fide conspiracy, man.
No,
yeah.
We're not talking about something that basically like so the origin of this as an entire race.
No. That's
what I'm saying. Yes.
It was the Bolsheviks. It was part of an international
Yes.
conspiracy to actually like overthrow several of these governments. So that's real.
Yeah.
And so yes, when like 1930s, and it was the same thing. Like a lot of Germans were like, well, yeah, Versailles was bullshit, and so fuck you guys. We're gonna build tanks now. And a lot of it, if you asked them in like 1937, 1938, hey, are you going to go to war in the next 5 years? They'd be like, no.
Why would I do that?
Yeah, exactly. Why would we do that? That's dumb.
That's a dumb question. You're dumb for asking.
Dumb for asking. Yeah. So not realizing that Hitler basically said that's what he wanted to do in 1925. And for as insane as the guy was, he didn't lie to people. So
that's my guy. He tells it like it is.
Yeah, he did. He was not a liar. So he would tell you straight up. So, in fact, he detested it when people lied to him. So,
I saw that scene in that movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he throws the pen and fucking gets mad about his Xbox Live account getting banned.
Yeah.
He's furious.
With, fucking piano wire.
Yeah.
So I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. True story. Yeah. Fuck the fucking bowling game.
Yeah, I got you, man.
So yeah, there you go. And I don't know if there's an equivalent to that in Russia right now. See, the difference between like Russia and China is the CCP itself is actually still really popular. So people look to it, they say it's important, it's a function of the state, it's part of our history. So we support it. It helps us. It's responsive to most of our needs, which is true. So, and then like his whole thing when he backed down from COVID was one of these things that like, I remember even the China guys were like, oh, get the fucking popcorn. It's going to begin. But there's a couple other guys that I watch who are pretty fucking sharp on China too. And they're like, he just locked in the rest of his career at this point in time because basically he bowed to the people on this one. They were the ones who screaming, hey, knock these lockdowns off. All right, let us get food. Let us get back to work. And he says, okay. And so they got exactly...
After a while, yes.
It took like 3 weeks. So, of those little riots that were going on and stuff with the papers and stuff, before
Pots and pans.
Pots and pans, too, yeah. So, well, and the thing is there, like, it wasn't the entire country. It was a rolling lockdown. So it'd be this city for a month, this city for a month, then this city for a month. And so everybody kind of experienced it a little bit differently. And so, but eventually they did get to the point in time where they tried to go back to zero. But in the face of Omicron, it's impossible. So everybody had it anyway at that point in time. And tens of thousands of people had died over the course of just a few days. There was no hiding it.
Yeah, you look at their numbers, they're like 6.
Everybody knows they're bullshit. So, I mean, I saw a study that was basically just looking at cell phone tower usage in China. When you have a sample size of 1.2 billion, okay, when all of a sudden about 300,000 of them go offline, so over the course of 3 months, that's called a death wave. So, yeah, you can't hide it, man. So, and it was out there.
That is what people think. That is what people think our government can do.
What? Kill you?
Would basically make 300,000 people just disappear.
Our government? Bullshit, man. So, I mean, our government does a lot of things right, but it could never do anything like that. So, there's like nothing about it that is actually that competent to be able to act in that kind of cohort, in that kind of like, at that scale with that much secrecy, it's not possible. So
Correct. Yes.
it's not possible. So, but yeah, there you go, man. So I don't know. Are the Russians responsible for Putin? Probably in some respects. You know,
Well, he is. Look,
he's no Hitler though.
he's not.
No,
he's
he's
not.
no
Just
Hitler.
despite the parallels people try to draw with it, no, he's not. But there is something to be said about there's a phrase that goes within individual groups of people, which is it's still true, right? When two arguing groups of people say, "Hey, come and get your boy," right?
Mm-hmm.
There is something true to that, where it's like your stupid friend keeps mouthing off.
Yeah, you need to go. Yeah,
This is your friend.
yeah,
Come get him
Come get him.
before he starts a thing.
yeah.
So yes,
That's true, but I don't think he's that unpopular inside Russia. So
no, and this
Yeah.
is the.
I mean, there's a lot of people in Russia who see him as basically like, oh, okay, he's restoring us back to the international stage. So I mean, we have a strong military. I don't think they're winning anything, but they're not losing.
not winning, they're not
So,
losing. They're
yeah,
just there.
They're just there.
And
I mean, people in Russia are starting to have jobs again because he's basically internalizing the entire economy to produce fucking, milk crates for his military.
yeah.
I mean, dude, I saw this thing on the Russian school. Ask your friend about this. I hear that the Russian school system is fucking shit now compared to what it was during the communist days. That it is so bad, that kids don't learn nothing. They can't keep any teachers. All the schools are full of asbestos and kids don't even go. Nobody gets punished. So, that it's just like the kids coming out of Russian schools today are basically like functionally illiterate.
Functionally illiterate, and there's a class of people.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That sucks.
So okay, well, yeah, keep in mind. Okay, let me put it this way. So Russia has at many stages been described as have and have-nots.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a wealth disparity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like the worst one in the world.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So let me put it this way. My friend there didn't go to those schools.
So she went to fancy schools.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you have a wealth disparity like that, she's like, my school was awesome.
Well, yeah, but her parents probably had to pay for it.
That is true. Well, it was her grandparents, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So the private schools there are on par with anything around the world, if not better.
Yeah, but
But
right.
so that little jacket right there.
Right. Yeah. Your track suit. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So when I showed up there, and that's where she was laughing, was so she laughed at it because I had to explain a term. She knew what it meant, but didn't know the term for slumming it.
Right. Yeah.
And so that time when I showed up wearing that jacket and my driver's cap,
Right.
and she was basically like, that is like the little thug uniform.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what she was laughing at. I was like, why is this so funny to you? It's like, well, because, when I was a teenager, like, every rich girl, she's like, every rich girl dates a guy like that for a period because they've been around all of these, like, I don't remember the term that she used, but it was basically like Russian for limp-wristed. Like,
Oh, yeah. No, I guess. Yeah.
and she's like, so every rich girl goes through a little phase where she dates like guys like this, and that's why she was laughing so hard. But she was like, that's what gets churned out of the system. And she's like, and you see them everywhere. It's like, go to any gas station,
Yeah.
and you're gonna see like 10 of these dudes doing that goofy little Asian squat with their
Yeah. You told me about that.
elbows on their knees,
Yeah.
and like they don't have jobs. They just do. The way she said it is, you do enough of these low-level jobs until they actually, you do something right that gets you into an organization that's crappy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then you live off graft.
That's it.
That's exactly how the army works in Russia.
Yeah.
Dead serious.
Right.
Yeah, they rape you during boot camp. Like, literally rape you during boot camp.
You're not wrong.
No, and everybody gets to do it. So, you do your stint and you get the fuck out. Or you stay in and you start doing the raping.
You do the raping. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is.
so-
We described that. Yeah, it was dick in the ass dynamics.
Yeah,
Was
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I took the dick, so I'm gonna give the dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's and the whole like so Putin actually fired a whole bunch of guys. Well, he didn't really fire them. He did some like rearranging the furniture.
Right.
So, because like
Yeah.
some of the guys, it's like, hey, look, I can't keep paying you off if you're not performing, at least at this level.
Yeah.
So, but you know where all the bodies are, and so you can go do this non-job here for a bit.
Yeah.
And still like, suck at the tit of state for a little while, until I gas you or whatever. Or you take a private plane somewhere. So
What was that? How did they describe that on The Sopranos? Or like no-shows?
it was a no-show.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're the superintendent of the construction site, but so you couldn't even point to it on a map. So yeah, let alone tell me what we're building here. So, but that's kind of the point, man. But the whole Russian military is like that. It's like, basically he uses petrodollars, the few that he can get out of the country, to bribe people to come fight for his military. Otherwise, he kidnaps them.
See, that's the part where
that is so crazy. That is like Genghis Khan bullshit.
That's what I'm saying. That is what the part where you can say like that's a very Hitlerian part where it's like the people that you conquered are now fighting in your army.
Well, Hitler never did that. So, but what he did do was he and Albert Speer certainly made them build a lot of nice things in Germany. And so,
well, there were troops that were not German in the German
they were
army.
allies of the Germans. So the Romanians and the Bulgarians and the Italians were actually part of the Axis, the Tri-Party Act. And so they actually fought in Russia a little bit. But no, he wouldn't take like well, I guess like not on the Eastern Front, but on the Western Front, there were a bunch of Ukrainian troops that were actually they were on the other side during the D-Day invasion. So, but they gave up really quickly. And so that was the thing, man. Is like if you do that with these guys, that's what they do.
Right.
So
you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the Russians would basically just go scoop up a whole bunch of people from anywhere in the non-white parts of Russia and stuff them all in green uniforms, and then so like you get the rifle, you get the bullet. When the man with the rifle dies, the man with the bullet picks up the rifle. So that is true. That actually happened. So
all right. So this was the other question I was tasked with. Was
that an AI question that you were asked?
No.
Oh,
no, that was actually a discussion question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the other question that she asked me was, she was like, look, I've been to a few different parts of the United States. She's like, I've been to Boston, I lived there for a little bit, talked about a few places here, and now she's in the Bay Area. Right? She's like, I don't feel like... She asked me first, before she prefaced why she was wondering this, she asked me, like, hey, if you could go to any 3 places in the United States and then 3 places in the world, where would you go?
3 places in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Are these places I haven't been to before?
Doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Oh, yeah. Well, only 3? Okay.
Yeah, you got to narrow it down to 3.
All right, so I like the city, so I'd like to go back to New York. So,
Okay.
Yeah. The other place that I really like is like Western Colorado. I really like Durango. It's like one of my favorite places that I've ever been to.
Okay.
So, and then the last one would be Hawaii, of course.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Hawaii is
Okay.
amazing. In fact, I'm saving money to go back.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha. Okay.
because I haven't been there in I haven't been there since I've been married. So it's been a long time. So
you're gonna go.
no, I'm taking. Jesus, otherwise I wouldn't be married, man, very long.
She would be pissed.
She would be fucking
So
pissed.
you-
Dude. So the house would be sold, the raviolis would be cashed out, and my daughter and my wife would be living large somewhere beyond my reach if I did that.
Oh my god.
And fucking likewise, too.
The motherfucker just saved up for himself to go to Hawaii,
Oh,
and he
man.
just went for like a week and a half.
Dude, my wife's a lawyer. She would kick my ass. So, actually, she'd just have me killed. Yeah, she would just have me killed. That'd be easier because then she could get my pension and my life insurance. So, yeah, she would have me murdered. So, and she knows people who know how to hide bodies.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So the reason that was, and then she said, where in the world? But that's,
Ireland.
Yeah.
I really want to go to Ireland someday. I hear it's kind of shitty now, but I still want to go. So, and then I'd really like to go to Japan. So,
That was my number 2 as well.
I
I've
really,
been studying the language, Patrick.
yeah, I tried it for a little bit. I gave up, and now my Duolingo bird,
He's
his
melted.
face is all
Yeah,
melty, and I
that's
leave him
creepy.
like that as punishment because I know it fucking hurts him. So.
It's supposed to hurt you.
It doesn't hurt me. I blocked his emails because he would send me these guilt-trippy emails every couple days, and now he just suffers in melty silence. So anyway,
Yeah, this was the tough one. Was when I said you said Ireland, but I was like, I have to classify all of Western Europe as kind of something that I would do on like a month trip, where
yeah,
I wouldn't just stay in one place. There's so much history that I need to see.
I'd probably try and stay in the same place for about a week or two. So
And then I told her, and this is something, it's sort of weird, but it's true. There's this corny ass resort in Jamaica called Hedonism.
oh yeah,
You're familiar with
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I don't want to go
It's
there,
the one with the razor wire that surrounds it.
bro.
I know what you're talking
The
about.
reason
yeah.
I want to see this place isn't because I want to get into shenanigans. It's because the presentation of this and what it's supposed to be in terms of a resort of full delights, I'm like, this can't be what it is. Like, if I go here, I feel like it's going to be a ton of really disappointed middle-aged men, and I want to see that, right? Because that's the crowd that I'd want to see. I'd want to.
You'd be better off going to Thailand. So,
Well, no, that's the thing. I
yeah.
don't want to have a good time. I
Oh,
want
okay.
to see these people who came in there thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come here and it's gonna be I'm gonna be surrounded by flocks and flocks of beautiful women that are here to satisfy every desire that I have.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, it's just nothing but other middle-aged dudes.
Well, that's what it's going to be.
That's
Yeah.
what I want to see. Now,
I
granted,
don't think I'd pay money to see that, man. So,
This
I
is
think
the
you
thing.
can get on Google Earth and zoom in.
Well, I was like, all right,
see
now,
that
but listen.
from a distance.
I only need to be there for like a day or two to see all this, right? But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see the rest of Jamaica because it's actually kind of beautiful. I understand.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would have to see this. It's like it's just so funny the way it's presented. And the only reason I want to see this is because back in the day, HBO used to have the most worthless show on the planet called Real Sex, which is where I saw
remember
this.
that, yeah.
This is where I saw that, where they would be like, well, this is like where people go to get whipped in Hamburg, and this is where people go to.
Oh yeah.
Because it was not.
This is the red light district in Amsterdam.
They never.
Yeah.
It was never like you're watching. Like, this is like the least erotic sex show I've ever seen in my life. But everybody watched it because of the title. I think that's why I ended up seeing it. But
Yeah, I remember seeing it a few times. There was another one on right after it. What was it?
Taxi Cab Confessions.
Yes, there we go.
Also-
yeah.
It was better, but
It was a
anyway,
better
it
show.
was. But anyway, so anyway, that's where I ended up putting as like world destinations, right? But so the reason she was asking was she was like, well, I've lived in these places here in the States, right?
Mhm.
And
Those are pretty good places. So,
yeah. And she said like, but I don't feel like, especially here with life in the Bay Area, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I don't feel like I've actually seen or been with real Americans.
San Francisco is a little bit different, and if she's hanging around with like the Silicon Valley VC crowd, they are definitely different people.
Well, so she posed it to me that I was like, so where would I go to see and meet real Americans?
Texas, hands down.
Okay,
You
explain.
got a little bit of everything in Texas, man. So just take some time, hit a couple cities in Texas. So just stay parked for a few days. You'll meet some of the friendliest fucking people on the planet.
You
So,
will.
in Texas. So yeah, it's just it's like everything in Texas is like supersized American, So the cities are big, so the food is great and it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. There's friendly people, so there's a lot of shit to do. It's just that like out of all the places that I've been to, so like every place kind of has its own flavor to it, but none of them felt like a suicide Slurpee the way that Texas does.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So
the problem I had with that, right? And again, this is not, because she brought that up, and I was like, look, okay, because I've been to Texas, right? And I'm like, all right, so I would have said something like that 20 years ago, right? And my whole problem there is the same thing that I had with, look, when you and I were younger, okay, and you had family out in Michigan and stuff like this, so take this back before, I don't want to say like before Prodigy or whatever, but basically the internet at large, right? If you had family coming in from Michigan, or in my case, California, Arizona, East Coast, that kind of stuff, there were different, like your cousin would be like, listen to this. These are the Beastie Boys.
yeah, no, that doesn't exist.
That's what I'm saying here is like, if you're expecting a different America, like wow, this doesn't feel anything like America that I come
New
from.
Orleans, yeah.
I was like, you're not going to find that, because Texas is going to have a lot of the same restaurants you see out there.
Yeah.
It's going to have a lot of, it's like,
But that's like real America, man. That's like what 90% of the country is like. So if that's what she's looking for, I would still say go to Texas or go somewhere in the Midwest. So, but definitely, like, I would put Texas above the Midwest. So just because there's more to do there. So, but if you're looking for like unique cultural, like, weird little spots in the United States, there's tons of those, man.
that's what I was saying. I
wouldn't go to those though if I wanted to get a feel for how I'm not going to New Orleans to think about how people feel in fucking America. So because they're a very different pace of life there.
That's what I'm saying.
I would
like if you did that and you're coming from San Francisco, right?
Yeah, I think you'd skip over this huge chunk of like, if she really wants to get an idea of like what most Americans are like, Texas.
Well, what I told her was like, if you're just looking for people that don't hold the same like kind of political values and that kind of stuff, like you don't have to leave the state. Just drive east of where you are, okay? Because the majority of your state, okay, they vote red.
A lot of them.
It was like there's 4 big cities there that determine, this. Like, if you drive out east, you are going to find lots of red cities.
You can find that down in San Diego too, man. It's a military town.
There's that. I mean,
I mean,
and so I was like,
I'm not looking at that as political, man. So because Silicon Valley's like, she's not in like, fucking San Francisco with like what's the neighborhood down there where all the communists get together all the time.
Well, you have the Castro, and that's the gay district.
Okay,
it's
so
right
not
there.
like that. So her
You're
thing
talking
is
about like the Tenderloin and
the Tenderloin.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah. So there's also a park there. So it's
There's a
famous
park there.
named park. I can't remember what it is, but anyway. But yeah, the Tenderloin. So that it doesn't sound like that's where she's at. It sounds like she's hanging out with tech bros who went to top Ivy colleges, who emigrated from all over the country to live there. Okay, so that is a very that's like New Orleans. Okay, so it is a very different perspective on things. You're not going to fix that by going all the way over to the other side and hanging out in Stillwater, Oklahoma for a week.
That's but it sounded like that's what she was looking for.
If that's what she's looking for, then Texas. You could find it there.
The thing was like, okay, so this is the tough thing. Like,
Not El Paso.
Well, I was like, well, don't go to Austin. You're going to get more of the same. I was like, the thing is like, all right, this comes into to play where you're defining opposites, like where they say like, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy, right?
Okay.
Where in the same thing, if you were to say like, all right, so what is the opposite of, basically like San Francisco? It's like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's, Stillwater or, something like that. In theory, to me, like the opposite of that would be Montana, like where it's free of people. That's the appeal of it, is where the space becomes your mentality. It becomes your
but Montana's still very rich. So
I agree.
If you want to do opposites, then she needs to go somewhere like Gary, so Indiana. Go somewhere where people are actually fucking really hurting and not fake, hurting like they are in
Jesus
in
Christ.
Menlo
So
Park
like
or
she's got a flight to Flint, or whatever. Yeah.
If you want to see some real Detroit, even Cleveland now anymore.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. So I hear Pittsburgh's nicer, so, but I mean, go to Baltimore. Baltimore is just terrible.
Nah, I wanted to come back.
Well,
They,
dude, she's Russian. She'll be all right. So, you know. Yeah.
So okay, one of the funnier things that I saw recently, because you know I kind of get a kick out of like VTubers and stuff. There was a crowd that came to the United States, right? And especially one of them, because she's like huge into GTA, right? She was thrilled to be in Los Angeles because it was Los Santos.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It's,
And she's like, I know my way around here.
yeah,
This is
exactly.
crazy.
I always go where they think they do. Yeah. So,
But the things that they were confirming were like, okay, so here are the conceptions about America that are true and that aren't, right? She's like, so the food thing that they say is absolutely true. She's like, about the portion sizes and the price. They said, we've never been in a position where we each ordered an entree and we stopped talking because all we could do was eat and eat and eat and eat. And we didn't talk until we were all done and we still had food left over.
Yeah.
And she's like, but apparently some of you guys eat this way for every meal.
yes. Yes, we do.
She's like, so that's true. She's
true.
like, the thing that gets passed around as far as like, wow, America's dangerous and deadly. She's like, this was absolutely untrue. She's like, now, she's like, that being said, we came home at like, we would come back to the hotel at like 10 o'clock and we stayed out of certain areas. She's like, because it's like, and it's not because it's America, it's because it's dangerous to be out at night as a woman. She's like, it's dangerous to do that in Japan. Right? Yeah. She's like, but
yeah, Japan is not a crime-free nation.
it's not. Yeah, no, and there's plenty of perverts there. She's like, so no, that
it might be a standard deviation above the norm, but you know,
I mean,
we don't sell things like that in vending machines.
We do not. We don't. I mean, yeah, it's still like, for as degenerate as Pride Month is going to get, it's still not.
It's not like that.
Yeah. So she's like, well, that's out the window. But yeah, it was.
No,
funny.
there's definitely places where you don't belong. So,
but that was it. Was like, if you don't go to the places that you don't belong, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
and you can probably see a real slice of Baltimore or Detroit in the daytime.
Oh, it's just fine.
Right?
Yeah, you go to the financial district, you go to a ball game during the day, it's just fine. Even though the ball game's in basically fucking Baltimore's Mortar neighborhood, so it is. So, but yeah, you'll be fine. So, and then there's like other places that are, you know, just the same, you know, where it's like, you know, they could be dangerous in certain situations, but 99 times out of 100, they're not going to be. So, like, if you actually did, and I mean, I recommend, like, I know we talk shit about it, but Appalachia is fucking gorgeous. So,
no question.
Yeah, it is absolutely fucking gorgeous, and you can just
that was one of my suggestions. Yeah.
You can just drive and drive and drive, and you'll meet all kinds of different weird people. So, but still, at the same point in time, there are parts of it that are a little dangerous. So, especially if you look like you have money. So, so this is not a place where you take the Louis Vuitton bag, you know, because you're going to go from being, you know, a gentle stranger who, you know, wants to have a beer with me to Target. So, yeah. You just have to understand that, man. So, you know.
One of those fascinating things to me that was completely contrary to what I thought was, and you and I have both talked about this.
Denver's good too.
Well, she's been to Denver.
Yeah, okay.
She's been to Denver.
Yeah,
she was there for the hallucinogens conference.
Oh, okay.
Right. Which was that was like 3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
The thing that surprised me is you and I have talked about like old TV and when there was the quote unquote rural revolution with Green Acres and Beverly Hillbillies and all that stuff.
Oh,
where
yeah,
it was
yeah.
very popular. It was very. These people were not seen as backwards in a negative way. They were seen backwards in a charming way.
Yeah, very
right?
much so. Yeah.
It was usually their rural sensibilities that ended up winning out in the end,
Yep.
as seen as a virtue, right? So to me, I always like,
and that's still very true. You know.
in many ways. So I thought that the beginning of the dispersal away from this, I thought it was deliverance. I thought that Deliverance was something that said like, well, the South is scarier than I thought. Turns out I was wrong.
Yeah.
Turns out that movie increased tourism by like 1,000%.
I'm not surprised. Just because it's so pretty. That and Deer Hunter. So, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I thought this was like the death of that era. I was dead wrong. I was totally wrong. People were, they were able to separate the Ned Beatty-ish from that sound he makes. Such a
Squeal piggy.
I'll never forget it. But that they were able to separate that from like, nah, that's not what it's like.
No, that's not.
This is a movie.
It's a movie. Yeah.
So, you know what? Actually, I think you're onto something with that. I think that I will come back with that and say, like, hey, I talked it over. Because you're right. That is... I feel like that's something that you can't replicate in other locations. It is unique to this country.
Well, if she's looking for unique, then
yes,
I would actually bump that and I would say go to New Orleans. So
that came up.
that's as fucking unique as it gets in this kind. I mean, dude, people speak fucking different language there. So
well, I mean, it's one of the last true bastions of colonialism, where the different cultures actually settled in different. And I was sometimes saying, I'm like, look, with the ubiquitousness of the internet, like people are people for the most part, right? Like if I tell you to go to North Dakota, you're just gonna find a lot of pretzels and more pork in the grocery store.
It'll be the same.
But the people are the same.
They're the same.
Like, really? I was like,
oh yeah,
yeah, it's just,
yeah. This is not Europe, man. So we're like, you know,
the language. Oh,
well, not even the language, but you go from like France to Belgium to the Netherlands to Germany in an afternoon, and there are four very distinct cultures. So they don't look like it from the outside. So, but they are once you start to know people who grew up there. You know, you're not going to find that here. So, I mean, even people in New Orleans, man, they're going to be able to identify with people in Mobile, Alabama, and people who are over in Galveston, Texas, even down to Houston. They'll be fine, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the last few cultural bastions left. The only other ones that you're going to find are like Mormon country, so out there, which is going to be very different than anything else you see. Go to a fucking reservation, so that's going to be a very different way to look at the United States. So, in fact, you can pick from several because there are many, and they kind of like a sliding scale of poverty. With some of them up near Boston that are extremely wealthy, and others of them down there in Arizona, which basically you're going to cry.
North Dakota, yes.
North Dakota too, yes. So you find very different like cultures there. The only other place that I find that is like culturally distinct is like northern Wisconsin, like the Upper Peninsula.
Talk about this for a second. What is the difference there?
It's just
you're talking about straight up Midwest.
They're Dutch up there, so it is a bit different, man. It's got a different feel to it.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amish country would count as that too.
Yeah, but that's tiny.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very hard to find. They don't take kindly to people who try to poke around there. So you know,
I'll take their money.
No, sometimes they won't. So
yeah, that's what they're selling, apple butter and shit.
Well, I know, but you got to go to the touristy places to see that stuff. Yeah. They're not going to sit down and have a beer with you after you're done buying your apple butter.
Well, no.
So yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like, see what I'm saying? Yeah. So and so if you want to find culturally distinct places, fucking Chicago is great for that. So
But that's what you would say is like I want to get away from the big cities.
Yeah, then I would go. Well, New Orleans isn't that big of a city. I mean, fucking this town's bigger than New Orleans.
I know. Dude,
don't tell them that.
Don't tell them the same thing. It's like this is bigger than Atlanta.
Not the metro area. No.
The way that they count it. I know what you're saying,
no.
But it's
no. Atlanta's got to be top 20 in terms of metro areas. So, but New Orleans itself is the metro area, the metroplex. Is smaller than here. So it has been since 2005.
Any particular reason?
I don't know. You should go look that one up.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, that's another one that's smaller than here.
It is.
Yeah. So, okay, no, I got
you. Too. I was kind of surprised by that. I saw that not too long ago. Omaha's got a fucking shitload of big buildings downtown, man. It looks like Denver. This place, no.
Well, I mean, that's part of Omaha. That particular spot is very advantageous for that region, that particular spot.
Right? I have no idea. So, yeah. I mean, it sits on a river.
Well, I mean, like in the same way that Denver was like a hub area to get to the rest of
Yeah,
shipping
yeah.
and all
Well,
these
to the
other stuff.
silver
Like,
mines. Yeah.
and Omaha was kind of the same way, yeah.
Well, it's where the Transcontinental Railroad started.
That
So,
okay, so
but it's been there a lot longer than this town's been around, and it's smaller.
You know,
So,
okay,
but it's
so-
just more developed, man. It's
That-
kind of weird.
that's the other thing I forgot to mention. Is like so with you guys with Russia, all right. So your origins are at the earliest. The Rus are like 800 AD, right? You go over there to Western Europe, all these places go back way farther, right?
Fuck, they do their cave paintings.
Right. I'm just talking about the formal. I'm not talking about the people out there. I mean the establishment of the Rus of that area,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if you're talking about the modern, these is like
Dude, we still don't know.
2000, yeah, at least 2,000 years.
We still don't know when Stonehenge was built.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like, but if you come to the United States, I can tell you exactly the year we got here.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we usually put up a rock with the note on it. Yeah.
So the depth of history and differences can't. That's the kind of thing that would have happened before the internet, but now that it's here,
Can't.
it's smoothing out.
Yeah, it's all smooth.
This is like if you look at the map of accents,
Yeah.
basically
Oh, dude.
1990 versus
TV
2024.
accent is taking over the world.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah.
So
It
unless
has been for a long time. So, yeah, some of those places you're going to have distinct accents. So, but they're dying. I'm going to Boston next week. That one's dying. So,
you'll still find people, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be as pronounced as it
now,
was.
and even like
Right.
I've seen people not too long ago from New York, and it's like my dad had more of an accent than you do. So, and it's like, okay.
I mean,
So-
you will still hear some of that Brooklyn accent. Like when you hear it, you know it.
Yeah,
Right?
Staten Island's the strongest one. So
Well,
it
I mean,
really is.
there are some weird things where you're
It
like,
is an island.
would you guys just pronounce all the words in buttons?
Yeah, just tone it down.
Buttons.
Buttons.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
God's sake. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's what happens when you internationalize as much as we have. So, because now, like, the major differences are in between countries. So, they really are, and they've become more pronounced over the last few years than they used to be. So,
Yeah.
they really have. So,
So okay. So final recommendation: Appalachia
Appalachia or Texas.
and travel.
Or Texas.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I won't step off that one. I mean, it's a good place to go. So, if you've never been.
I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to downplay Texas. It's just like it was just so odd when I was there. It's like there were barely even any accents or anything. I was like,
Uh-uh.
this is you guys are just normies.
Yeah. Which is the opposite of San Francisco.
I see what you're saying. All right, I get it. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, got it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Pat.
And I'm Jeffrey.
I'm heading to bed.
You guys are normies.
Normies.